Hello, in this video I would like to briefly discuss about the teaching strategy and its immense benefit of using different teaching strategies in the classroom teaching learning. We have also seen that teaching strategy is it immensely benefit the students and through teaching learning strategy, student takes the sole responsibilities of their own learning. To begin with, I have these three questions to keep in mind. Why so many teaching learning strategies? Even in the last semester we have learned about some of the teaching strategies, and even today we are continuing with some of the strategies. And why do we need to focus on the constructive approach of teaching or the learning? Is active learning instructional strategy same as constructivism? So these are the three questions that will guide us through this video. Right now, in order to understand better about our students' way they learn, a few slides that will make you please understand the questions and follow the instructions. How does student learn? So when we ask how does a student learn, we have seen the lot of educational philosophy, educational theory about learning. So here the Dewey 1961 and Asubel 1963 and 2000, the effective instruction must begin at a level of students' prior knowledge. So what it says is whatever they learn, whatever new information they learn, they must start constructing over the prior knowledge. If they are not able to link the new information they learn, that may not be useful for them for a long run. So any new informations they gain, the new informations unrelated to the prior knowledge is difficult to learn and remember. So these are the two things that you have to always keep in mind while you are thinking about the strategy. So we must allow the students to rigorously try to make a connections of what they already have and then how they are going to construct over what they already know. So that's how the new information is built on. Alright, and the learning involves the elaborations of a knowledge structure in a long-term memory in order to keep in the memory or to remember for a longer time is always allow the students to construct on their own. Why group work or the collaboration tasks? Why do we give a collaborative task? So we know that in a class, no two students or no two learners are same in terms of their experience, previous instructions, preferred style of learning, family background, cultural background, so on and so forth. Of course, but a diversity is an asset for the collaborative work because the different members of the groups brings a different perspective and the skills to bear, but it can hamper the learning for some students unless the level and the mode of instructions are appropriate for all. So it all depends on the teachers, the type of tasks they give, the strategy teachers follow or the method teachers follow. So here we see in the class there is a diverse the experience, diverse cultures and diverse understanding, that different understanding of different groups of people. So when you have such diversity in the class, we can always make best use of that diversity, because every student can contribute a different knowledge to the group. So therefore, a collaborative task is very important. And whenever we are thinking about giving some instructional strategy, then we have to always think about the collaborative work. Sorry. Next questions: can students check their progress of learning? Yes, the learning is promoted frequently by the feedback from the teachers, feedback from the students, and these feedbacks are of either of formative or the summative. Normally in the school or in any learning environment, formative assessment provides a valuable feedback to both instructors and the students. So the educator called for the formative assessment as opposed to summative assessment. So summative assessment has got a very limited feedback, therefore a student cannot do anything. For example, the final exam, people write the exam, it is evaluated and then given a marks, there is no feedback. So but whereas if you think that daily classes, the daily teaching, when the teachers ask the questions, students give, teachers give a feedback to their students. So the formative assessments provides a valuable feedback to both instructors and students. Therefore, we must think about any activities. If you are planning, then we have to think about something where the students can give the feedback to their groups or to their peers. And also the teachers must think about their time to give a feedback at the right time. Why should we encourage students to ask the questions? Very important. In the traditional class, if you see, the teachers continue to teach, but there are hardly any questions being asked. But in the active instructional learning class, where there is an effective learning, requires awareness and the questioning of one's own learning process. So two things. One is effective learning requires awareness, because if the people are not able to ask about the things they are learning and not able to question one's own learning process, it is surely that he or she may not have understood anything. So in order to create more awareness of the particular topic that they are learning, students should be allowed to ask a lot of questions. So which means whatever they have learned in the classroom, they are able to transfer the informations and apply it to the newer situations according to their own situations, because whenever there is a new thing is learned, constructed over the past experience. So it is not what teachers have said, but it is what the students perceive is very important. Why do we need a learning community? This is another factors that teachers must keep in mind. Whenever there is a lesson plan where teachers incorporate a strategy, he or she must think about the type of group they select, type of learners they wanted to put together, and that is called what you call the learning community, where students value the knowledge that is being learned. They are able to share each other. So in the early childhood, this community is in family. At the university, it could be in the group of students working together to solve the problems, to understand the problem. So this is why teacher has to be very careful in sorting out the strategies. The final questions: which type of learning strategy is better? Now, in 21st century, the learning changes the structure of the brain, and the strategy is made such a way that learning changes the structure of brain, and the extent of changes increases with the degree of the complexity, simulations, and emotional involvement of the learners. So this is we must understand that students learning changes their structure, their thinking, and it also increases the degree of the complexity in their emotions and their involvement in the learning environment. So the active learning strategy is very important. The active learning strategy today, most often we find the teachers engage their students in their own learning. So active learning, in which the students' level of motivations, curiosity, attentions are high. For example, during the group effort to solve the intriguing problems would be better retained than the learn from passive activities such as just listening and then reading a text. So uh, in the 21st century, we must engage the students in their own learning through motivations, and by developing curiosity, by posing them questions, by posing them a certain opportunities. So and then keeping them at a higher level alert. Therefore, they if the students works on the pertinent issue that are very common to them, issue that is very relevant to them, they will learn better than the sitting passively listening to the teachers. The differences between the experts and the novice. Normally in the class there are two types of students. One becomes very active and very fast. There is another group of people who are just very slow in learning. So what are the differences between these two group of learner? The experts constitutes a coherent structure. The knowledge of an expert constitute coherent structure into the new concept, can easily fit from the relevant information, can efficiently retrieve. Meaning here, the expert peoples are able to correlate things and are able to fit the new informations to what they have learned. So which means they are constructing very well. It's like using a brick constructing a wall. They are able to construct very well-rounded, wholesome information. Whereas the novice or the slow learners appear to collect the informations on related facts which are difficult to memorize and retain. These are just very scattered informations and very unrelated facts, and which are quite challenging for the people to understand. This is what happens to the slow learner. In other words, the expert see and makes things meaningful patterns. For anything they learn, they try to make a certain things in a pattern so that they remember the informations very well. Whereas novice cannot. So because too much of information for them. After going all the questions, probably you must have understood how the teacher should make your teaching strategy. So choice of the teaching strategy also differs based on the type of question that you like to engage in your teaching strategy. Teachers think about the right strategy that would benefit their students for their deeper understanding of the content for a long-term memory. Teachers also choose a strategy. Teachers' choice of strategy determines the students' progress of the learning. The active learning engagement of the students for their own learning also determines the type of strategy teachers has chosen. Right now, just to give a basic information about teaching approach, methods, and strategy. This was already we actually discussed, but still, then just for recollections of what we have done before. Approach, one's own viewpoint towards the teaching. Method, a series of a related and progressive act by our teachers and students to achieve objective of the lessons. So this is what method is: series of related progressive activity where teachers and students both are engaged to achieve the objectives. Technique, we have learned about personal arts, teachers own. This is what we call technique. This is a teaching skill, personal arts and style of the teaching in carrying out the procedures of teaching. So it all depends on your voice, your questioning strategy, and then interacting with the students, the art of sustaining students interests and motivations. Strategy, a set of decisions to achieve an objective that results in the plan. So what we are looking at in the strategy is the methods one, and then the strategy. So it looks that approach, strategy, and the methods. So this is how it follows the sequence. Now we have seen the teachings, strategies, and teaching methods. That there are teaching methods which are very direct, and there are teaching methods which are indirect. So the direct approach or the expository strategies. Expository, we try to expose the informations. So we try to give them information, we try to tell them. So here teachers plays a greater role. So some of the examples like deductive, demonstration, expository like explanations, or here lecture methods is expository. So we use expository strategy: direct instruction, expository, type of subject matter, content oriented. If the contents are overladen, then we go for these kind of strategy. Desired outcomes will be normally factual informations, which means it's just about some stories, some writing about the lot of facts, dates, times, and then there isn't much of principal philosophies and then in-depth concepts. So expository strategy examples are deductive, inductive, and lecture methods. Deductive and demonstration and lecture methods. Now experiential approach is an indirect experiential approach. Experiential approach is experience gains through this expo. They normally experiential approaches are explorative strategies. Here children learn through explorations, by exploring themselves, by reflecting on their own works, through inquiry method, through problem solving method, through inductive method, through discovery method, through lab activities or the lab investigations. So here in the experiential approach we saw exploratory strategies, and different exploratory strategies are inductive, problem solving, discovery, laboratory investigation, reflective, and inquiry. So we use strategies like guided instructions. Guided instructions are exploratory strategies. The types of subject matter they might learn are experience oriented or the process oriented. Desired outcome would be development of formulations of concept, principles, skills, and attitudes, values and attitudes. So here mostly of an desired development of the concept, principles, skills, and attitudes. So if you look at the previous one, it was just learning outcome was just an factual information. Here they learn both skills, attitudes, values, concepts. So example of expository strategies, problem solving methods, inquiry teaching, reflective teaching, discovery learning, and laboratory methods. So the characteristics of these different strategies and the methods under this strategy. The expository strategy and exploratory strategy. In the expository, we try to expose things, less delivery time, utilize expositive strategies such as direct teaching, deductive teaching, teachers controlled method, less students involvement, more delivery time, utilize discovery strategies such as inquiry teaching, inductive teaching, teachers facilitated methods, teachers only facilitates, teachers do not do a lecture, high students involvement and active interactions. So that's all about the different types of strategies and their benefits and then choice of the strategy that teachers can make. Let's recall some questions. Why do we use different strategies, teaching learning strategy? How do we appreciate the need of a diverse learners in the class? Why group works are encouraged? Why group encourages the? Why do we group encourage the group work? There is some structuring. Question structuring is not in order. Why do we encourage group work? Why do we encourage group work? Why do we emphasize on active learning strategies? What are the active learning strategies? State the differences between active and passive learning strategies with example. So these are some of the questions. If you can't think and then try answering properly, you would be able to understand video well. Thank you.